Hello, this is today's research. I've included all of the links down in the description. Check them out if you're interested. Get back with me and tell me what you think. Here's where it started to get interesting, guys. Sorry, I'm hacking up a lung at the moment. That went down the wrong pipe. Okay. Oops. Goodness. Once man was considered one's identity by Egyptians, believed that everyone also had a secret name, the Ren, which only the individual and God knew. But the Egyptians weren't stupid. This was another thing that I found interesting. So I went and looked. Lots of schools. And why? That one came up. So it made me think of this, so I looked it up. Shit. Sorry, Paula. I was getting chocolate milk. I can't breathe. Anyway. Okay. The Ren was one secret name. This was given to one at birth by the gods, and only the gods knew it. The only way that a fate or destiny can change is if a creature of higher power changes the name. As long as the name of the being exists, the being will exist throughout eternity as part of the fabric of the divine order. The Ren was the name by which the gods knew the individual's soul and how one would come to be called in the afterlife. But it reminded me of something else. Rumpelstiltskin. So I found this, the magic of the right word. Psychiatric disorders in literature. All these links are in the description. So you got the fairy tale story here. That's not what I found interesting. There's a Rumpelstiltskin principle. Let me see where I find it. I read all this morning. There's a few pages down. Hang on. I think it was this one. Okay. So the power of the word, and which led me to think of something else. So this is how it goes. I start with one idea, woke up thinking mazes, and I looked into mazes, which I still think there's more there, but this is where I ended up today. So I just went with this part because one thing would make me think of something else. And then I would go, what is that? What is that? What is that? Why that? I've heard that. I need to know more about that. There are always been great interest in language. Language is indeed the most important achievements in the development of human culture. But what anthropologists find particularly fascinating is that the language is not only a product of culture, but also produces culture, right? It becomes clear with some examples that words not only express or refer to things, but they also produce things. Now, I'm very curious about this because if you remember in the Bible, in creation, when God gave Adam power over the earth, he told him to name everything. The power of a word also becomes clear. It's very recognizable, but simultaneously unlikely way. In an example that it's found indirectly. That was the wrong one. Okay. A man enjoying his meal. So this was the example he had in his notes. A man enjoying his meal of cauliflower hears after having finished that the meal consisted of brains. He ran to the toilet to vomit. What does he throw up? Brains? No. A word, a label, a name. And then that comes from this Andre Dugers. A breeze is pleasant when it is warm, but if you call it a draft, shit, come on. Really? Oh, wow. It may make you ill. A breeze is pleasant when it is warm, but if you call it a draft, it may make you ill. The power of the word is particularly great in the world of illness and in healing, as we will see later on. The power of the name. Names are special words. They give things, plants, animals, and people their specific identity, especially in the case of human names that affect its spectacular. Names are words raised to the power of two. They surpass themselves. They are the incarnation of language. Without a name, a person is not a person. For that reason, in Ghana and in many other cultures, one does not immediately give a newborn child a name. One waits a while to see if it will come to something. I think the Native Americans do that as well. Only after 7 days, when the danger has passed, which you remember we talk about our fears here, and Dr. Albright's first fear you conquer is the fear of death, right? And that's because those first weeks, it's the most dangerous part of our life. Having no name is characteristic of the stranger, the homeless, the illegal asylum seeker. That made me think, well, isn't it kind of interesting that they want to take our names away and basically turn us into a number? And they use that in prison systems and in schools and so forth and so on. So just think in those terms. Names are on doors, on graves, on books, on paintings. My name is at the top of this article. Names can be found in concert programs, school timetables, and hospital rosters. In newspapers and in historical books, they classify and divide reality into possessions, tasks, presentations, events, and rights, which can all be linked back to the identity of a real person. All right. And then that made me think of this. I have this book, and I went and got it and was reading through it. So because I can't necessarily do that for you, or pull it up. I've got the book right here. My cover looks different. I've had mine for several years, but I forgot one more thing. This is in the wrong spot. It should be over next to my mazes, but I tabbed it over late. The maze hidden within the pyramids. So why pyramids? Why Egypt? Well, because Johnny's been telling you forever and a day that the world is run by magic, and Egypt was in fact the creators of magic, or at least they claim to be. Being one of the oldest civilizations, I think one after Sumerians, but I think they were also magicians as well. So the very first recognition of man that we have always shows magic. So clearly there's a connection there. But this book, Words That Work, What Not to Say, it's not what you say, it's what people hear, right? It's a good book. It's a political book. But again, I like these kind of things because I'm a bit of a nerd. So I'll read you a couple things from them that I found in here, that some quotes, and then I'll end this, or I'll take questions or whatever. I'm not doing open panels for a while. I'm going to start interviewing. I do have one person I'm going to interview, and I'm working on getting some others lined up. Let me find this. I thought that I had, okay. Okay. It says, you can have the best messages in the world, but the person on the receiving end will always understand it through the prism of his or her own emotions, preconceptions, prejudices, and pre-existing beliefs. It's not enough to be correct or reasonable or even brilliant. The key to successful communication is to take the imaginative leap of stuffing yourself right into your listener's shoes, to know what they are thinking and feeling in the deepest recesses of your mind and heart, how that person perceives how that person perceives what you say is even more real, at least in a practical sense, than how you perceive yourself. And I absolutely love that. It goes on to talk about some interesting things that happened in changing our language. So let me find that chapter real quick. So I should have marked it, but I'm not too bad. Okay, cases. Okay, this was cases, corporate case studies. All right, so it has a whole chapter just on corporate case studies. This is a quote by Jack Welch. My language was meant to be transparent and clear. If there was a theme, It was always to simplify, 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 to make them feel it in their blood, to get it into their skin. You have to reach people in their soul so they can internalize your message. Too many messages are just internal gobbledygook. And it talks about some of the case studies. So here's some of the things I find interesting. Okay, and so I'll come back over here and share this right here. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm glad you're here. Okay. So words that work case study. Here's one. They changed the word gambling to gaming. Do you remember when that happened? When they changed the word gambling to gaming. Do you have a gambling addiction, or do you now have a gaming addiction? Okay. One of the best examples of an industrial tackling its greatest image weakness and turning it into the most beneficial strength just by changing a single solitary word, 2 letters really, is the gaming industry, formerly known as gambling industry. After a long tenure as chairman of a Republican National Committee, Frank Farkenfrog took his well-honed political and communication skills into the corporate arena as president of the American Gaming Association. Turning gambling into gaming wasn't his idea. The strategy had been implemented for years earlier, right? Here's another one. They turned the word liquor into spirits. Words that work case study. From liquor to spirits. The revival of the term spirits is analog to the coining of gaming. Well, I didn't participate in this effort. Anyway, it goes on. Okay, and then here's another one. You got banks versus credit union. Do you see how just those words, the way that we use them, changes the meaning for us? Do you feel safer putting your money in a bank where you know that it's corporate owned? Or do you like the idea of a credit union where it's seemingly patron owned, right? Here's another one. From honest data to accurate data. Because they can't be honest when they're lying to you. So they just changed it to accurate. What does that mean? Okay, but let's see. Here's another one. They turned from cell phones to integrated entertainment. And then this one's got a couple notes. The power of one. Consumers want the entire process simplified. Okay, just a minute, boo. I heard you. I said I'm coming. Just a second. Let me finish this point and then I will come. Consumers want the entire process simplified. They know you. They know as a consumer, you want the entire process simplified. One-stop shopping, if you will. One bill to pay. One single point of contact. And when something goes wrong, one person to hold accountable. We deliver, they say, that phrase, and anything, anywhere, anytime, on any device. Both project a robust concept of reliability that goes well beyond mere connectivity. Now, just so you know, this book was written in 2007. So they were already prepared for what's to come. Do you see that? Let me go get her. Let me go get her something to eat. The next one, you guys can throw some ideas. This one was they changed the word employee strike to employee satisfaction. These are business terms. They've changed them now, so they'll have a different meaning. So you won't think they're so bad, right? Here's another one. Corporate accountability, they changed to corporate responsibility. You can see how they do that. You want broccoli? No strawberries? Hello? No? Okay, well, you got me up. What do you want? You don't like any of my ideas. Well, you can get that yourself. You didn't need me to get up for that. I don't even know what. Come find it. Not for breakfast. Look, you want oatmeal? Yeah? Or do you want a yogurt? A yogurt? I can do that. Here you go, boo. And this one. I would eat it. I would love that. Okay. All right. All right. So then it goes on to talk about political case studies. Now, if you're not interested, you don't have to listen to me. I find these things interesting. I'm just bringing them to you. Okay. So let me find, shit. Let me find these. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's some of the stuff that happened in the political sense, right? And this is a book based out of the United States, but it's the same everywhere. Here's another case study. So in politics, they changed the word estate tax to a death tax. That's a good chapter, but you don't really need to read it because can you only imagine why they would want to do that? They don't want to be taxed, and they want it to be your idea. We talk about that all the time. They want it to be your idea. All right, and the next one, they changed drilling for oil to exploring for energy. Just changing those right there makes everything. And I know you guys are word people, so they changed domestic to American. And these are the things they changed so that when they were doing their political speeches, they could use a different terminology. You would think it was different. You might not even recognize that it's been changed, right? They changed Social Security to retirement security. So here's some rules. I'll give you 10 rules and then I'll shut up. Rule number 1, he says, you use small words. Use small words. Linguistically, as you enter the debate, there are 4 key themes that must represent the core of your message. Prevention, protection, accountability, and compassion. This is for people going on political debates, right? This is a chapter just for the politicians. All 4 words represent basic universal principles and values, which made them universally acceptable. All 4 words would be understood by high school dropouts and PhDs. And 3 of the 4 words have similar construction, making them easy on the ears and easy to memorize. Use short sentences. Like I'll show you. I look like a shit mess today, but I'll show you the book so you can see what I'm reading from. Okay. Use short words. This is a simple task for President Bush. It said George W. Bush, but not difficult for almost every other politician. Is that why he got elected? Because he used short sentences? Did he follow rule number 2? This is about the overcrowding of your schools. This is about emergency room chaos in your hospitals. This is about the increase in your taxes. This is about the crime in your communities. He doesn't really tell you shit, except he's here to help all of these things in your life, right? Then rule number 3, credibility is as important as philosophy. In an illegal immigration debate, an expression of compassion was the best way to establish instant credibility. And here's an example. Compassion is the component lacking in much of the Republican messaging on illegal immigration thus far. You are quick to condemn the problem, as you should be, but no one hears your sympathy for all the innocent victims. A child brought here by an illegal immigrant is a victim, but so are the children of legal immigrants and citizens who pay for it in taxes and fewer services themselves. We cannot deny care to an illegal immigrant, but it is unfair for the rest of us to pick up the tab. The best way to show compassion for illegal immigration is to end illegal immigration. Notice the word victim and how it's tied to the children of illegal immigrants. It directly acknowledges the argument put forward by the opponents of stricter immigration laws. You know what's interesting about that word victim? I just heard that word victim. We've had a lot of our politicians. In fact, I think it was Boris who liked to use the word victim because I did a video on it. That's a word. Whenever I'm listening to these people and I hear these ridiculous things come out of their mouth, maybe it's because I read books like this. I'm not really sure, but number 4, consistency matters. Number 5, novelty. Offer them something new. Rule 6, sound and texture matter. The words prevention, protection, and compassion are memorable, not just to those who say them, but to those who hear them. And it helps align the rhythm of the speaker and the audience. Rule number 7, speak aspirationally. The language of hope and opportunity works with everyone, it says. Number 8, visualize. In some way, the visualization rule was the catalyst for the national outcry on both sides. Among proponents of stricter laws, watching televised images of dozens of people dashing across the border at night, an already agitated population to the breaking point, the mere reminder of this videotaped footage was enough to set off a heated discussion. So that became the language lesson. Does that sound familiar? So here's the example that they gave from the news. There is something wrong with our borders. Now this is talking about immigration, but it applies. He's just using that as an example. There is something wrong with our borders, our enforcement, our laws. NBC, ABC, CBS can show us hundreds or thousands of illegal immigrants racing across the border every night, and the federal government can't find them, can't catch them, can't send them back. Right? Rule number 9, ask a question. The best message is intellectually invite audience participation. In this case, it is essential that the speaker uses questions that trigger thoughts, not just about the present, but also about troubling future if the status quo was allowed to stand. Do you hear that? They're talking about immigration here, but I see this playing out right now. Right now, we're not dealing with immigration, people. Rule number 10 and last. Provide context and explain relevant. For some issues, context and relevance are the same. In the illegal immigration debate, they're distinct and needed to be addressed individually. I tested dozens of words, phrases, principles, and concepts to determine the most universally accepted context. The one that came out on top was the 3 rule. Rule of law, or was all of these 3 words. Fuck, I can't read. I'm sorry. Rule of law. That's what he's trying to say. Here's how I told the Republicans how to explain it. Respect for the rule of law is a core fundamental American principle. A nation that either cannot or will not enforce its law, including immigration law, is inviting abuse of all of its laws. See how he wrote that nice and pretty? And then another case study. We went from crime and criminals. We changed crime and criminals. And guess what we changed them to? Public safety. Now, how many times do you hear that phrase? Public safety being used today. It's because Dr. Frank Luntz is hired by these people, and so are people just like him. You should really learn more about your business. You should really learn more about these people. I can't say it enough. To me, they're the dangerous ones. You have to understand, not only do you need to understand yourself, but you've got to understand the people that are controlling you. First learn you, then learn them and you. I don't know, but you got to start realizing these people aren't our friends, and we need to understand what they learned to lie to us. This is their curriculum. This is the things that they read, and in order to know how to deceive us, right? That should be important. So we can sit here and guess all day, but it's there. Anyway, that's all I had this morning when I woke up, and I wanted to get it out here. So if you wanted to do your own research and then chat at me later, we could set up a panel and talk about it. Or it might have sparked something totally different for you, which would be awesome. I'd love to hear what you thought of. As you're reading these articles, what stands out? That's what I do. A word stands out. I want to go look it up. And then 9 tabs later, I'm on, words that work when I started with mazes. Tells you something about me, doesn't it? Anyway,